for science. This is a cooperative and also solitaire friendly game in which we're going to try to discover the cure for a deadly pandemic. I know, right? Pure science fiction. And we're gonna do so by creating designs of possible cures and then by making three-dimensional models of those cures using blocks that we're gonna stack on top of each other in specific ways. The game is played in real time. In the standard game you have 15 minutes. Of course, you can just choose to play shorter with less time to make it more challenging. You can even choose to play with more time or even without a timer, which is how I play the game with my daughter, Luisa, who is 9. She likes the game, but she doesn't like the frantic feeling of fighting against the clock. I also play the game solitaire, and when I do so, then I do use the timer, and I do use the traditional 15 minutes. The idea is that you're gonna build different cures to various diseases. When you do so, you will collect pieces of a puzzle. The piece of the puzzle, if you combine in a certain way, will give you insights that will allow you to move these beakers here on these tracks. When you have a total of points equal to a certain amount, which depends on number of players, say with 2 players is 8, then you win the game, if you're able to do that before the time runs out. Each player has a unique character. This is my favorite character. Each comes with a pattern that you say like this, which is basically the card and the pattern there represents this scientist's personal lab. So you will have one of these cards in front of you and you can, oh, major glare there. And you can choose to build cures, placing cards on top here. We'll see what that means. And each character has a unique ability, unique bonus. But let's look at the main board, because ultimately curing things on the main board is the same as here, just the reward is different. The procedure is the same. You have a board with 3 labs. Each lab has a disease card that goes on it from a specific deck that gives you the requirement of the cure for that disease. For example, to cure this disease here, you need to use at least 2 blocks of this kind. For this one here, you need to have a purple or a yellow on all design cards, and so on and so forth. Each lab also has a slot for a mutation. This lab here always has a mutation. These other ones may get mutations if certain events, certain conditions are met. For example, to cure this disease in this specific game, I always need to start building a top on one of these that will be on the table, and then I need to have 2 red touching each other or 2 purple touching each other in the whole thing. How do we design our cures? But of course, by using design cards. You gotta design them before you build them. Otherwise, what are you doing? So these are design cards. This is what they look like. You shuffle them at the beginning of the game. Each player has a hand of exactly 1 card. Once you play the card, then you can draw another one. Hooray! And you place the cards in a scientist's personal lab, like so, for example, and cards are played horizontally, and you can choose the orientation if allowed to. In this case, for example, as you can see, I cannot do that because connections need to go with connections, and those half red, half hexagons need to go with each other. And so that would be legal. So I could place it in my own lab, for example, or I could place it in one of these. Oh, this would go so well, because remember this one? I need to build on top of a single red, and I need 2 red touching each other, so you'll see why that is a good idea. And so, just like so, and then maybe I draw another one, and I decide to place it here. Now I cannot put it there, I could place it there, for example. Or then I draw another card, and so on and so forth. There may also be a time when I just can't place cards anywhere. I don't want to place cards, then it's called wasting them. You place them on this board here 2 of them, not a big deal. 3 of them, if you have 3 of them, there's a penalty. But you can also spend resources, data. We'll see how you acquire those. You can spend a point of data to clear wasted cards that are placed here. Also, after you place cards in a lab, you can rotate them, you can shift them, move them around within that lab. You cannot make them jump from lab to lab. In order to do so, well, you cannot do that. So instead of doing that, you need to waste them if they really don't go well with your plans. So, so far so good. We draw cards, we place cards, we waste cards from time to time, and there may be a time when we're finally ready to build our cure. To do so, we need to verify that we're meeting all of the requirements. For example, again, this cure here, I need at least 2 green, let's call them bridges, and I got those. I need at least minimum length of 3 cards here, and I got that. And so it looks like that would be it. So I'm ready to build it. The connections that touch the side of the lab indicate that the pieces with those connections must touch the table. And so and also basically the idea is that if pieces are connected with one another, they must touch one another. If they are not, they must not touch one another. For example, here, that seems like a good thing because both the blue and the green are touching the table and they're also touching each other. I got a purple that goes on top of that. And then I guess it becomes a little more challenging because we got a green here. Oh, that's gonna be impossible. That's a bad. I would probably need to redesign it because the green touches the purple. The long orange touches the green. Oh, maybe we can do that. The long orange see touches the green, which it does so, but touches that one only, which actually it's doing. And then we add a purple and a red. Turns out that maybe it's possible as long as, again, the purple and the red only touch the green, nothing else. And maybe I can make it work. I just had a cunning idea. How about that? Because you can see, you can get pretty creative because, as long as you respect the connections, the orientation, the position doesn't really matter. Now you can pause the video, maybe you can figure out I made a mistake, but so far, looking at it, I think that looks pretty good. The green is touching the orange, those two. I think that works. So basically that's how you complete your cures. If you do cure a disease, then you will collect rewards indicated on the cards. They may be modified. Also, depending on the lab, you may receive basically 2 types of rewards. Data, symbolized by that, and what's the technical name? Information, research, symbolized by that little book. When you complete a disease, you will collect a number of those symbols, right? And then that allow you to buy these pieces of the puzzle. If I have, for example, 2 research, I can buy this one. Or with 2 research, I could buy these 2 pieces that cost 1 research each. I have 3 data, I can buy this one. I have 5 data, these 2 have 6 data, 3 of these and 2 of these. And you start with 1 such piece on the table already. And so after a while, I have maybe collected a bunch of pieces like so. And then anybody, remember this is real time, so everybody's doing things at the same time. We're placing cards, we're trying to create those designs. Once we have the design, we're trying to actually build them. And or somebody is working on these pieces of the puzzle. As you can see, there are these open connections and these symbols. I'm simply trying to close those connections. And now working on, and of course the connections have to match. For example, that would be an illegal connection, boo-hoo, not good. That would work because that says any, but it doesn't really do anything for me. Right now, you're stressing me out why are you looking that way? Oh, that was a smart intuition, because basically you're going to score points, you're going to gain insights for the symbols inside the shapes that you actually managed to close. So, for example, I'm actually not doing bad at all, because, for example, looking at the shapes that I managed to close, I have 1 blue point, 2 red points, and 1 yellow point. And so I simply go here on this track here, and I record my 1 blue point, my 1 red point, or 2 red points, and my 1 yellow point. And I continue like this, drawing cards and trying not to waste them, creating designs, building those designs that allow me to get piece of the puzzle that then I can use to build. And you can make and unmake, turn things around, the reshuffle that you want is simply that if you move in such a way that you're undoing something that you had before, then, well, you simply have to fix that later. Man, I really want to close that one. That would be like 2 points there. That would be pretty good. That's even legal. Look at that. But I'm still looking for something that lets me do that. Stay there. I'm gonna find it. Or not. You just imagine that I did find it, and maybe that is just good enough. Now, there you go. 2 red points. So, if you're able to collect enough of those symbols from closed shapes to fulfill the required number indicated there, then you win the game. Otherwise, it takes you too long, you lose the game. It's that simple. For science! Oh my gosh, this game is so good. My daughter Luisa and we had so much fun with this one. Basically, now she has been asking me to play it every day. And early on, we were playing without a timer because she was insecure. And now we've been playing it so much that she felt comfortable about it. We started playing it with the timer, and sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Then we started winning, so now we're thinking about introducing some of the penalties, maybe reducing the timer. So I'm hooked, but my daughter Luisa, who is now 9, is even more hooked than me. Which tells you this is definitely a family game. It looks like when the box is this big, when there are so many cards and components, you feel this is going to be like a heavy, hardcore gamers game, but it doesn't have to be. Although, I do believe that I'm going to have a heck of a good time when I have game night with my adult friends again, when the pandemic is over, because I do believe that it can be a game that hardcore gamers are going to enjoy. But at the same time, again, you can play with a kid and the kids can get completely hooked. Because you can approach it in very different ways. For example, my daughter Luisa likes a lot to work on her personal lab, and that still gives you enough tiles that you can do some stuff. It's less stressful. The big labs give you a lot more of a challenge, and again, you can have somebody who is a regular gamer who loves those super crazy combinations that you can try to pull off, and somebody who enjoys a more relaxed challenge on the labs. You got the other puzzle with the tasks that you acquire, the ones that actually score you insights to work on. And again, you may really have an insight about those. It looks like it's one way, and then boom, you figure out a ways of reorganizing it. So now you're closing so many of those open ends and scoring a lot more. The pressure of the timer or playing in real time, always fun, always enjoyable. But again, just as a pure puzzle, there's a game that I just find enjoyable per se. I think, if I had more time, I don't know, from time to time I may just put on some music or an audiobook and start building some of those cures just for the fun of it. Just look at certain disease and come up with a design that solves it, that scores a lot, without even playing the full game. And there's just something so, of course, so visceral, so direct, so unmediated in building all of these things, which is ultimately one of the reasons why we like to play board games, because we like to move things around, to shuffle those cards, to push the cardboards, to interact directly visually with the game components. And that's why we go through the trouble of taking a game out of the box, setting it all up, etc., etc., etc. It's a whole different experience. So I do like a game with a strong table presence, and trust me, this one does. This covers the table and really turns the table into an experience, into an event. So what you have is a game with a lot of replay value, a lot of different challenges, a lot of different modes and variants, unique powers that, while keeping the core idea always the same, will add a lot of different elements and angles. It's a really addictive game. What can I say? It's really fun. I mean, my daughters and I, my daughters have become my regular group these days. They used to be one of my groups. And I don't think there has been a game that we have enjoyed quite as much in quite a while, at least referring to my daughter Luisa and I. We love For Science. It's a really good game. I can only recommend it in very, very strong, enthusiastic terms because we've had so much fun with it.